There was a small village surrounded by thick forest. In that village lived a 17-year-old boy named John with his parents. His father was a farmer, and his mother worked in the fields. The people in the village were kind, but there was one place everyone avoided: the old house behind the trees. It stood at the edge of the forest. The roof was broken, and the walls were covered with moss. Nobody had lived there for more than 20 years. The villagers said the house was haunted. At night, they sometimes heard a woman crying, or they saw a dim light moving behind the windows. Children were told never to go near it. Even adults didn't walk that way after sunset. But John was curious. He didn't believe in ghosts. People make up stories to scare each other, he said. His friends warned him, "Don't go there, John. Something bad will happen." But he laughed. "I will prove that ghosts don't exist." One evening, while they were sitting near the tea shop, John said, "I'll go inside that house tomorrow night and stay there for 1 hour. If I come back safely, you all must admit ghosts are fake." His friends looked at each other in fear. "Are you mad?" one said. "Don't do it, John," said another. But John was stubborn. The next night, after dinner, he took a torch, his phone, and a small knife, just in case. He told his parents he was going to meet his friend. The moon was half hidden behind clouds. The wind was cold and dry. When he reached the edge of the forest, even the crickets stopped chirping. The path to the house was narrow and covered with dead leaves. As he walked, he heard the crunch of the leaves under his shoes. The trees looked like tall black shadows. After 10 minutes, he saw the house. It stood quietly, as if waiting for him. The front door was slightly open. When John pushed it, it creaked loudly. Inside, everything was covered in dust. Broken furniture, old pictures on the walls, a torn curtain moving in the wind. The air smelled of rot and dampness. He turned on his torch. "See?" he said to himself. "Nothing scary here." He went from one room to another. In the kitchen, there were rusty utensils and a few bones of small animals. He guessed they were rats. In the bedroom, a mirror stood against the wall. When he flashed the torch on it, he thought for a second that someone was standing behind him, but it was just his reflection. He laughed nervously. He looked at his phone. Only 10 minutes had passed. He decided to sit in the living room. There was an old wooden chair, so he sat and waited. The wind outside grew stronger. The windows made a rattling sound. Suddenly, he heard something, a faint whisper. At first, he thought it was the wind, but then he heard it again, clearer this time. "Leave now." He jumped up and looked around. "Who's there?" No answer. Just silence. He took a deep breath. "Maybe my mind is playing tricks." He sat down again. Then, from upstairs, came the sound of footsteps. Slow, heavy, dragging footsteps. John froze. He pointed the torch toward the stairs. The light shook because his hands were trembling. "Anyone there?" he called. No reply. But the footsteps came closer, step by step, until they stopped at the top of the stairs. He could see nothing in the beam of his torch except dust floating in the air. He wanted to run, but his pride stopped him. "It's just rats," he whispered to himself. He climbed the stairs slowly. The upper floor was darker. His torchlight barely reached the end of the corridor. There were 3 doors. The first room was empty, except for an old bed frame. The second room had a broken window. As he entered the third room, his torch went out suddenly. "Damn it," he said, shaking it. The light flickered weakly and then died. He tried using his phone's flashlight, but it wouldn't turn on either. The screen stayed black, and then he heard breathing behind him. Slow, deep breathing, as if someone stood very close. "Who's there?" he said, his voice shaking. He turned around quickly. For a moment, he saw nothing. Then lightning flashed through the window, and in that flash, he saw a woman standing in the corner. She wore a long white saree, her hair covering her face. John screamed and stepped back. The woman raised her head slowly. Her eyes were hollow and black. Her mouth opened wide, wider than any human mouth could. She made a sound like a low growl mixed with a cry. John dropped his torch and ran down the stairs. He reached the door, but it wouldn't open. He pushed and pulled, but it felt locked from outside. "Help! Somebody help me!" he shouted. His voice echoed through the empty rooms. Then he heard her again, her footsteps on the stairs. Slowly coming down, he ran to another door. It was a storage room. He hid inside, breathing hard. Through a small crack, he saw her shadow moving across the wall. She was searching for him. "John," she whispered in a long, broken voice. "You came back after so long." John's blood ran cold. "She knows my name?" he thought. The shadow stopped in front of the storage room. He covered his mouth to stay silent. The handle of the door turned once, twice, then stopped. After a few seconds, the shadow moved away. He waited for 5 minutes before stepping out quietly. He ran to the back of the house, hoping there was another way out. He found a window and tried to climb out. As soon as he touched the frame, something icy grabbed his wrist. A woman's hand, pale and cold like ice. He screamed and pulled away, falling on the floor. The woman was there again, crawling toward him, her face twisted and broken, eyes bleeding black tears. "Why did you leave me?" she cried. John crawled backward, terrified. "I don't know you." "Let me go!" The woman screamed so loudly that the glass windows shattered. The lights flashed for a second, and then everything went dark. When John woke up, it was morning. He was lying outside the house on the ground. The sun was shining. Birds were chirping. He looked around. No sign of the woman. The door of the house was open again. He stood up, shaking, and ran back to the village. When his friends saw him, they were shocked. "John, what happened to you?" His clothes were torn, and there were long scratches on his arms. He told them everything. They didn't believe him at first, but when they saw his wounds, they grew silent. The village head, an old man named Roger, said, "You should never have gone there, boy. That house belonged to a woman named Maya. She lived there with her husband many years ago. One night, her husband went missing. People said he ran away. Maya waited for him, but he never came back. She went mad and died in that house. Since then, anyone who enters after dark never comes out the same." John's eyes widened. "But she said I came back after so long." Roger nodded slowly. "Maybe she saw her husband in you." John didn't speak again. That night, he couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face. The black eyes, the open mouth, the cold hand. He decided never to go near that place again. A few weeks passed. Life went back to normal. John helped his father in the fields and tried to forget what happened. But strange things began happening around him. At night, he heard someone whisper his name outside the window. Sometimes he saw wet footprints on the floor, leading to his bed. His mother asked, "Did you spill water?" He just shook his head. One morning, he found a white sari hanging on the clothesline, but his mother didn't own one. He asked her, "Where did this come from?" She said, "What sari?" "There's nothing there." When he looked again, it had vanished. Every day, he felt colder, weaker. He saw her shadow in mirrors, in the water bucket, even in his dreams. He went to the temple to pray. The priest gave him holy ash and said, "Don't be afraid. Keep faith." But that night, the ash on his forehead turned black. One night, during a storm, John heard knocking on his door. It was past midnight. His parents were asleep. He went to the window. No one was there, but the knocking continued, louder each time. He opened the door slightly and saw her standing there in the rain. Her face was pale, her hair wet, her eyes full of tears. "John," she whispered, "you promised you would return." He tried to close the door, but it slammed open by itself. She entered, dripping water on the floor. "Why did you leave me?" she asked again. "I'm not your husband," he shouted. She smiled sadly. "But you have his soul now." Before he could move, she touched his chest with her cold hand. Pain shot through his body. He fell to the floor, gasping. When his parents woke up at dawn, they found the door open and John gone. Only his footprints led toward the forest. They searched for days but never found him. Months later, villagers saw something new. At night, when the wind blew through the forest, a dim light flickered again inside the old house behind the trees. Sometimes they heard two voices, a man and a woman, talking softly or crying together. The villagers sealed the path with stones and prayed never to see them again. But on full moon nights, if you walk too close to that forest, you might still hear a whisper. "Come back, come home," and the wind will sound like John's laughter, echoing from the house behind the trees.